It's HighTechDad, and I'm going to be installing this SchlageLINK wireless remote deadbolt system onto my door. And what you see here is the starter kit, and it comes with, this particular one comes with a deadbolt with a keypad. It comes with a wireless transmitter. Here's the inside of the deadbolt, and there is a lamp module that you can control remotely. Basically, what this allows you to do is to secure your house or secure your door with a deadbolt system that you can use a keypad to enter. You can use regular keys, or you can use like an iPhone app or a web interface or some other kind of application on a mobile phone to remotely lock and unlock your doors, as well as control lights. There's some additional optional modules for webcams or to control your thermostat. So basically, I am going to show the process of installing this on the front door. This is my original deadbolt that is just a simple key entry. So this is what I'm going to be replacing. Supposedly I can do this in just a few minutes. So one thing to check here is to make sure that you have the right measurements, and it looks like I'm going to be a little bit close here with my original drilling. Hopefully it'll fit. I'm worried a little bit that it's going to be touching, the deadbolt's going to be touching the handle, but I'm sure that I can figure it out and get it in there pretty well. Alright, so here you can see that I have removed the original deadbolt, and I'm just checking the door to make sure that it looks okay, and then I'm going to size it out before I screw everything on. So I tested out the placement of the deadbolt, and it looks like it'll fit just fine. Maybe able to use the original screws as well, so that looks okay. So I definitely recommend testing it first. It looks like this won't slide in, so I'm gonna have to widen this original hole here. So first, to make it a little bit wider, I'm gonna try using one of these saw bits for the drill. I really love this tool. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit wider. Alright, so a quick word of warning. I don't know if you can see this little plastic black thing that's sticking out here. Let's get the focus. Alright, that is very fragile, and it's used to guide this wire through, so be very careful. I've already snapped part of it there trying to test the sizing, so be careful with that particular piece. Should be okay. It doesn't affect the functionality of the lock though. So now I'm going to put in the deadbolt. Make sure that you place it in the proper alignment. There's a little top sign at the top there. So I'm just going to put this in and put in a couple of screws. So in screwing in the screws here, I noticed that the holes were still a little big from the original deadbolt. So here's a little trick. You can take a toothpick and you can break it off inside there and then screw it in, and the screw will hold a lot better than before. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to replace is this old holder where the deadbolt goes through, putting in the one that came with the Schlage. Alright, so here's the deadbolt in place. You can note the extra security. It's anchored underneath there with some longer bolts that are about, or longer screws that are about 3 inches. Recommend doing this. So as I mentioned before, you really should measure out the holes that are in here. As you can see, there is a little bit of overlap between my handle here and the deadbolt. So what I'm going to have to do, and this is a week later that I'm filming this, I'm swapping this out for a different type of handle. So I replaced the old door handle with this one, which is much smaller profile. You can see from the indentation it's much lower, so now this will actually work with the deadbolt. So the next step is putting the deadbolt on, and what you'll want to do is feed this wire through the top, and then there are a couple more things coming up later in terms of lining up the bolt to make it work right. Alright, so here's another recommendation. There is some flexibility between the deadbolt here and when it comes in. I would recommend testing out these screws first to be sure that they line up with the holes here. I don't know if you can't see in there, but if you don't get them lined up, it makes it kind of difficult when you're putting the plate on this side. So play around with that. I had to hack up the hole a little bit. Okay, so when you attach this back panel, you want to make sure that this little section right here is pointed upright and not to the side. It's important to line it up when you hook it in here. Alright, so what I've done here is I've threaded through the cord from the deadbolt on the outside, and there's a little hole inside, and I've threaded it through, and I'm going to be connecting those together. Okay, after a lot of tweaking and recutting and doing stuff, I finally got these bolts through, and it's mounted. Do note, you see how close that is there? You really should measure out the difference between the holes, because while it looks okay, on the outside there's a little bit of a gap here. Inside, at least in my case, they're touching. So try to have standard holes cut. Next step here is putting in the batteries. So there's one that goes there, and then there's a screw that you remove to put in some AA's into here. So here it is. Here it is with the final faceplate on. Note, this is actually kind of transparent. You can see it from the inside because it receives some signals there, I guess. And another note, here's what you can see what happens when it is too close. They're kind of touching each other there. But everything seems to work, and I'm going to test out the codes. They recommend you do that though with the door open, so you don't get yourself locked in or locked out. Wanted to show a quick rundown on how the front door deadbolt works. So when the bolt is not engaged, basically this spins. You can put a key in there. If you want to lock it, all you have to do is hit the Schlage key right there. It starts to flash, and then this is engaged, and you can lock it, and after a second it'll disengage and it just spins. So the other way that you can get in is you can predefine a code, and I set up a test code here, and you just enter in the 4-digit passcode, and it unlocks, and you're good to go. So here I have the iPhone app running, and you can see it shows my front door is being locked, and what I can do is I can actually issue a command by clicking activate, and what this should do is send a code, and you can see it's starting to blink, so it just unlocked it via the internet. So I missed the timing there, but basically it'll relock itself if you don't enter in the code. So here you can see the lamp that I have hooked into the system as well. I've named it the piano lamp. It's sitting on top of the piano. It shows it in an off state. All I have to do is click on the button there, and then you can see the light just went on. And when I want to turn it off, I just click the off button, and it sends the command to turn it off. So it's pretty fast, and you can set up schedules with that. So I recommend taking a look at my blog at www.HighTechDad.com, where I go into a little bit more of the setup details and that sort of thing, a bit about the iPhone and web app. And if you have any questions about this, you can just ask me on Twitter, and I'm at HighTechDad.